Although they might seem innocent, there are many times when children's cartoons hide many mysteries. Mysteries of which their audiences never become aware, especially if we're talking about series that have been around for a long time. Back then, the only place where we could watch them was on television, and there was no way you could pause it or have detailed images. The thing is, recently something very disturbing was discovered in one of these classic series, and I'm talking about the Backyardigans. At the time, it was an extremely popular series. Everywhere you looked, there were things about the Backyardigans. But back then, the internet wasn't very popular. And it's incredible that until recently, several users started commenting that the windows that appear in the episodes of the Backyardigans hide a great mystery behind. They comment that if you keep watching one of the windows while the episode is happening, you'll most likely come across a disturbing image. And it all started with an episode that came out in 2007. The episode is called Save the Day. Actually, the episode has a very innocent plot. Practically, if you watch it, you won't find anything wrong or disturbing about the plot of the episode. We have the Backyardigans, who this time will be the marine rescue team. They practically take care of the sea, try to save the fish, and fly helicopters like real criminals in Miami. The thing is that right at the beginning of the episode, when they start singing, we can see that when it's Pablo's turn to sing, behind him we have a house, and in the reflection of the door on the right, we can see a very disturbing image. And the thing is that you don't need much imagination to realize that there's something strange here. From afar, it seems to be just a reflection of the trees, but if we pay attention and keep looking at the window, your mind will begin to form faces and figures. In this case, what many said is that there are figures of girls trapped inside the house, which wouldn't make much sense, since as we know in the world of the Backyardigans, we only have animals that sing and dance. At no time did we see any humans. But in my opinion, these images have other shapes. If we look closely at the window panel on the left side, it seems that we have the face of a man with little hair and a mustache, while on the right side, it seems that we have the face of a woman who is looking down. If we look at her, she has long and curly hair, which can definitely be seen from this side. In this case, we would have a couple or a marriage represented in the reflection of this window. And actually, we don't know if this has any meaning or mystery behind it. But as the episode goes on, you'll notice that the next reflection we have in the same window are different, as if the trees were always changing, even though most of the time we have the same angle. And well, these reflections only started dark theories and searches for other disturbing faces or figures in the windows. The next strange reflection we have in the Backyardigans we can find in the episode The Legend of the Volcano Sisters. Once again, we have a completely innocent episode of the Backyardigans, being now the Luau brothers, who are supposed to be brothers who love a type of party called luau. Well, once again the disturbing reflection we can find right at the beginning of the episode, before they use their imagination, once again in the house. This time we had Tyrone, Pablo and Austin in the shot, but if we look at these two reflections from behind, we can see that again we have something very strange. It's a reflection that repeats in these two windows, which wouldn't make much sense, since both windows are somewhat separated from each other, and they both are creating the same reflection. But in reality, the two of them must be reflecting other things. The disturbing thing here is that the internet users said that this seems to be the two faces of an elderly couple who are staring directly at the camera. First we had an adult couple, and now an elderly couple. Does this have any connection? Are they trying to explain something through these reflections? To come up with a theory, we have to keep watching the other reflections that appear in the series. And get ready, because the next one is too disturbing. Let's go back to the episode Save the Day, with the Marine Rescue Team. When the episode ends, we have multiple faces that appear in the reflections. Let's start with the ones from the orange house. On the left side, it seems that we have again the faces that appear with the Luau brothers, of the two elderly people who stare directly at the camera. Only here it seems that the elderly people look a little older, and it even gives me a vibe that this face is more like a skull. But the most disturbing thing is on the right side. Here, friends, without me having to tell you, you'll be able to see the face. A face that is also looking directly at the camera. The most curious thing is that people say that because of his mustache, his hair, and his beard, he has more or less a similarity to Jesus Christ. And we're not gonna get into religious matters, but it could be the face of someone known. Because the time I saw this, it did seem like a familiar face to me. And once again, it is worth mentioning that if we are talking about reflections of trees, this area here where the faces form, I don't see how it can be possible that it is from a reflection of a tree or a bush. It simply seems to be there on purpose. But now let's go with something that will leave you in doubt. And it is that just a few shots later in this same episode, if we look at the pink house, we have a reflection that is too strange. That's right, friends. It seems that from this window, we have a girl looking down into the yard. Clearly you can see that it is the face of a girl who has somewhat messy hair and bangs. Was she watching the Backyardigans since they started playing? Some people commented that since this is Unique's house, this girl that appears here could actually represent the soul of the girl who is inside the animal we see in the series. And this theory is so accepted because in several episodes when we start with Unique's house, just like in the episode Newsflash, this same girl's face can be seen reflected in all the windows of her house. Coincidence? Hey, tell me, friends, what meaning you see in these reflections? Actually, we wanted to find the real answer. After investigating the darkest corners of the internet, we thought we would find some answers from the creators, but unfortunately it was difficult. Some we didn't find social media for, and others had inactive accounts, and as soon as we wanted to contact the creator, some serious news. She had passed away. All we were left with was to formulate theories about these reflections. Let's start with the theory that it's not so crazy and disturbing. Back in those days, subliminal messages were very popular. Subliminal messages could be found in advertisements, images, and various animated shows. So it wouldn't seem strange to me that by then the Backyardigans could have had some kind of subliminal messages, so that their audiences would create some kind of emotion or connection with these series. Actually, a topic that always repeats when talking to people about the Backyardigans has to do with their opening and ending song. Everyone, without exception, said they had some of these emotions when listening to the song. The most common was that they had some kind of sadness or nostalgia, but not a very strong one. Possibly they did this so that every time the show ended, you would feel a similar feeling to when you say goodbye to your friends and don't know if you're going to see them again. In this way, when the viewers watched another episode of the Backyardigans, they would feel very happy and relieved. Another of the emotions that in fact very few felt was fear. The harmony between the voices and the fact that this song was repeated several times could have sounded very strange for those who didn't watch many cartoons or series. And in fact, both of these responses lead us to one conclusion. It was possible that the combination of these subliminal messages as to how the song was structured, what they said, and even these background reflections that only our subconscious could process was so that the most susceptible audiences, in this case children, had those strong memories or emotions with the Backyardigans. In this way, we could never forget them. And it worked, since to this day they are still being watched and talked about on the internet. The other theory that is actually a little darker has to do with the shapes we saw in these reflections. Since as for the creation and behind the scenes of the Backyardigans, we don't have much information, and it is thought that the creators were based on the story of some 5-year-old children who died in a very tragic way. We don't know which children they were or where they got this inspiration from. This is why many times we can see faces that seem to be from children, because the creators used photos of them and distorted them to appear in the episodes, but neither it was very obvious as to what caused a controversy in the news and the show was cancelled. Eventually, they represented these children as the characters we have in the Backyardigans, thus paying them a tribute. But if this video got you a little disturbed or scared, I'm gonna show you one of these faces, but let's say it's not disturbing at all. If we go back to the theory of the girl who is trapped in Unique's house, if we go to a shot where we have her clothes, in the reflection at the top, we can see the face of a K-pop idol. Oh yes, even with his mushroom haircut and everything. Anyway, friends, what other faces did you see throughout the series? Do you have any other theories to explain this? Or what other dark theories do you have about the Backyardigans? We'll read you in the comments.